Hello, this is Pockets with a 2v2 replay on Twilight Fortress. I will be the blue Zerg. Christguard, my 2v2 partner, will be the red Protoss. And we are playing double Terran. Purple Terran, which is Obama, and teal Terran, which is Soulless. And we'll, like I said before, we'll be playing on the Twilight Fortress map. It's a huge map. A lot of the beta testers have actually complained about it because mostly you're kind of forced to play a little more late game as opposed to an early game because you can't. It's really hard to apply early pressure on this map. It is a really huge map. Actually in this game there wasn't hardly any action right now, so I'm going to fast forward a bit here. While I do that, I'm going to have you call your attention to the upper left-hand corner, and I've highlighted the APM chart. And APM is actions per minute. And why this is important is because in Starcraft you should always be doing something. You should always be clicking things, you should always be putting things in hot groups, you should be repairing, you should be scouting. You should always be doing something. So you want your average number of actions per minute to be as high as possible so that as you go throughout the game, you're able to be more flexible and more focused on what you're doing. As we can see, teal is doing the best out of all of us, sitting at 43. I'm at 33. Purple is at 23, and Christguard is at 20. So, I've to just kind of look at the game. I've hit my expansion really early, and so is teal, and Christguard and Obama have yet to expand. And I'm going air. I've got my Spire up and researching my air attack and producing Mutalisk. So I went fast air, and Christguard is going Colossus, which are a very powerful Protoss late game unit. Now I'm actually doing my scouting here with my Mutalisk just to see what's going on, see if they have any expansions out in the main map as opposed to kind of the base part of the map. And they don't. So and they've kind of walled themselves off here, and they're going Marauders and tanks with some medevacs mixed in. And I think some Vikings probably. Oh, and Banshees. They're going to hit us with some Banshees too. And I actually have moved out of the main base and onto the main map. And the whole key to the Twilight Fortress map is getting expansions outside your main base. If you can get expansions up outside your main base, then you really start to pull ahead of your opponent. So I get my expansion up, but unfortunately Obama's going to hit it with some Banshees. He did use his invisible a little early though, because I didn't have any air units over here, so he could have just bombed on the building without, having to be invisible. But that's okay. So I have my Overseer here, which is a Zerg Invisible Seer, and now I'm looking around for him. But he's already moved on. So, and actually he's going over to hit Christguard. So I'm still looking, and he is headed up to hit Christguard's economy up here at the top. And at that point, Christguard actually sees him and tells me to move up, so I do. And I start taking out bombers. My Overseer finally gets in the picture here. And no more Banshees. And now Kreisgard's got a pretty decent amount of Colossus up. And I've rebuilt my expansion over here. And we are moving out. And the first thing we do is, because Kreisgard built an observer and has scouted Teal's first expansion, is you want to make sure on this map the first thing you do when you're ready to attack and you send out your army is you definitely need to wipe out whatever expansions they have, if at all possible. And these Colossi are pretty cool. They can move up and down walls, which is really sweet. But they are huge units, and they can actually be hit by ground or air. But they can only attack ground, so they're really weak to air-to-air units, because the air-to-air units can hit them, but they can't hit the air-to-air units. So in this game, the Vikings, which this guy built quite a few of, are actually really strong against the Colossi. But that's what I have my Mulos for, to kind of counter those. And so here's battle number 1, where the Colossi are kind of ripping it up here. Trying to take out as many Vikings as possible. And he got siege tanks down, which are also a really strong unit against Colossi. They actually have a longer range than they do. So we didn't do too bad. We took out his expansion, all of his drones over here, and some missile turrets, which was a good thing. Oh, and I'm being annoying. We have the advantage because I have the expansion up, and they are still both stuck in their base. Not a huge advantage at this point, but if I can keep that base up, it starts to become a bigger advantage. And as you can see, I as soon as I get this base up, I start sticking down some static defense so I can protect it. And I think we're waiting a little bit. And Kreisgard, he actually goes and puts a probe over here. He's going to start building his expansion, putting his expansion up. And here comes purple and teal right down the middle. And we actually spotted them. You didn't see it, but I had an overlord there in the middle. So we actually spotted them coming, and so we're kind of just hanging back waiting for them to hit us. One thing you want to make sure to do is you want to keep a lot of scouting around these big maps so you can see them coming. You don't want to be caught off by surprise. You definitely want to know when they're going to hit your base. And so here is them trying to take the ramp. So actually I'm a little slow. I should have had the Destorys closer, but I didn't move in and take out those Vikings, so they can't hurt the Colossus anymore. But unfortunately, they get to all the Colossus, but they didn't hurt me hardly at all. So I am off to do some damage. And just kind of moving over here for a second. And I start the process of moving my corruptors into broodlords. And broodlords have a longer range than the Terran missile turret, actually than all turrets. So the broodlords forces purple and teal out of their base to defend against them because they have that longer range. So they're not safe just sitting up here with a billion missile turrets. So